Hello, welcome back. My name's Adam to the Fighting Fantasy playlist. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. The Warlock of Firetop Mountain is a book that was published in 1982, and it was the first one Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone not only co-wrote, but also released in the UK with their Fighting Fantasy brand. The artwork, the cover artwork, which I think is absolutely amazing, even on the reprints and on the original, but they're still amazing. And it was done by Peter Andrew Jones, and all the illustrations inside, which again are really detailed, done by Russ Nicholson. So, The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, 1982. Steve Jackson, Ian Livingstone just started the brand Fighting Fantasy and opened up the Games Workshop a couple of years prior to that. They brought over the Dungeons and Dragons from America, and then they presented as Fighting Fantasy to the UK and the European market. They'd been working on this book for a couple of years, for a few years under their Warlock magazine, and probably printing a few entries of it inside and gaining a bit of momentum. So when it came to making the book, they had a massive audience already waiting to buy the book, which took the publishers by surprise. The publishers sort of were like, oh my gosh, this is really taken off, and we want you guys to make more of these. So I believe actually this is the only one Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone co-wrote together. But then after that, the second book, the third book, the fourth book, they co-wrote individually. And the original books, when they were released, didn't have this cover art at all on it. The cover art was a lot different. It basically just said the name above, and it had the full art. And the Warlock on the cover was an older Warlock, and the magical orb you see here was in the corner of the dragon coming out of in the corner of the room. And in 1984, they kind of re-released a lot of these books because of the popularity of these books. And afterwards, it got like a green zigzag going across the top, which a lot of people believe that is the original printing or the original publishing of the book. And it kind of is, but the original one didn't have that on at all. And up until about 1986, I believe, that green zigzag appeared on every book. So we're talking, it must have gone up to about book 24-ish, something like that. And then they stopped because then they relaunched or republished the books, and that's when you got this great golden dragon across the top here in the mid-80s when they republished everything. And from then on, it got that golden dragon and the classic green spine, which is famous with Fighting Fantasy, with its logo in the corner. So this is book 1 in the series, and there are 59 in this series. We're going to go through every single one of them. So, if you didn't check out my intro video, go check it out. We created a character sheet, okay? We're going to use that. We're going to actually have a little bit of a playthrough of it now. Actually, I'll just quickly show you some of the interior art, because the interior art is absolutely cool. I don't know if that picks it up or not, but it's really highly detailed line art. On every picture, you go to any picture, and it's highly detailed. It's awesome. Russ Nicholson did a great job. Okay, so this book, I've played this dozens of times, and I'm sure every fan has as well. It's the first one in the series. It's the favourite of Steve and Ian. It's a great book as well. It is truly a book of two halves as well, because Steve and Ian, when they wrote this, they wrote it together. They took responsibility for half of the book each. So there is a river in the middle of this book that cuts the book in half, kind of. So everything written before was written by one author. Everything that was written after the river was written by another. I can't remember off the top of my head who wrote the Warlock scenes and who. I believe Ian wrote the beginning and Steve wrote the end. That makes total sense to me, because the Warlock, Steve, and then you've got the beginning, like with the dwarves and the forest and that with Ian. That makes total sense. Let me know in the comments if I got that wrong though. So, what is it? The quest. Okay, so there is a warlock in a mountain, Firetop Mountain, and you got to go kill him. The back of the book reads this: your quest is to find the warlock's treasure hidden deep within a dungeon populated with a multitude of terrifying monsters. You will need courage, determination, and a fair amount of luck if you are to survive all the traps and battles and reach your goal, the innermost chambers of the warlock's domain. which is your goal. So we'll read very briefly. I'll just summarize the rumors section. Basically, you're an adventurer who goes around kicking ass, and you end up in a town where a lot of people are very scared, and they're telling you about this warlock, and you want to go out. You sort of go, ooh, that sounds interesting. And they say, we're going to give you a lot of money if you go and kill him, basically. So you couldn't help to say, you can't turn them down, basically. They tell you where it is. It's a 2-day hike. And your first page you come across is the entrance to the mountain, which, you peer into. It says, at last your 2-day hike is over. You unsheath your sword. You lay it on the ground and sigh with relief as you lower yourself down onto the mossy rocks. And then, you go inside. And your first objective, as you peer into its gloom and see the dark, slimy walls with pools of water on the stone floor, it asks you, you go for a few yards, will you turn east or will you turn west? And so we're going to choose. Let's choose west, shall we? So I haven't played this book in a long time, so I really can't remember. Now, a lot of people actually, they go out and you can find these online where they've mapped the entire book, and you can find these maps online. And for me, I have looked briefly, but I've not wanting to memorize anything because it kind of does ruin the book. The whole point of these books is to play it yourself and not have any foreknowledge of what's coming. I'm not into the map building side of it, but we turn to page 71 and we got a picture of a goblin there asleep. And the right hand turn to the north in the passageway, you look cautiously and there is a goblin like creature in armor. You need to test your luck as you tiptoe past him. So our luck is 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll 2 dice. Now if this total comes to above 10, we are screwed because we're going to be unlucky. And I rolled a 12. So first off, I have to take off 1 and it goes to 9 because I've used it. We were unlucky, which means I step on a crunch of loose ground and his eyes flick open and, oh dear, It says here, the creature is just awakened. He is an orc and he scrambles to his feet and you now have to fight him. So we've got to fight him. So our skill is 12. His is 6. I think it's going to be a short fight. I rolled a 6, which is 18. He rolls a 3, which is 9. We completely beat him. Now, the way you're supposed to do it is -2, okay, off the chart. So he would actually have a stamina of 3. But the way I do it is you roll a 6-sided dice for the enemies anyway, and that's his damage that is taken. A 6. So basically, I completely whitewash him. And we defeat him and we move on. Now, the way I play it is not the true way you play it. But this is the way I have always played it, where I roll the dice for the enemies, and then if it's me, I do take off just 2. It is cheating a little bit, but at least it gives me a chance to read the book. I still die through this way, though. It's no more advantageous, I think. It just means I last that little bit longer. And it doesn't mean I have to read the first section again and again and again. So we beat him, and we continue on. My thoughts on this book, we're going to end it here, by the way. My thoughts on this book are that for a first book, it's a great book, It's got magic in it, and it's got warriorship in it. It's got a lot of creatures in it, and a lot of surprises. And it's got a way in it that you can actually get lost in the mountain. If you don't actually track where you're going, you will actually end up just going around in circles, completely lost. And that, I think, is great, Highly recommend this, okay? But put your thoughts and your comments down in the video below. Of your experiences with this book. Tell me how you got on, and I'd love to hear all about your adventures and your thoughts with this book as well. And in the next episode, we're going to be looking at the Citadel of Chaos. Take care, adventurers. Goodbye.